David knows this man well. Tell me about Mark Weiss and how you met Mark Weiss.
Okay, so Mark Weiss, I knew his name as one of the big celebrity rock star photographers back in the 80s. He had shot, most of the big bands, Motley Crue, Rat, and he's East Coast based. There's kind of a couple of guys. There was Niels Lozauer on the West Coast, Mark Weiss on the East Coast, Ross Halfon over in London. These guys were these guys shot everybody, the biggest of the big. And they had always the biggest photos in Circus Magazine, Rock Scene Magazine, Hit Parader, the sources where I learned about music. And Mark, I'd always notice his name in there. And I remember the day came when Megadeth got to shoot with Mark, and Mark would come to a lot of our shows in and around the New Jersey area and shoot our live shows. And we put a lot of our stuff in Rock Scene. He now owns Rock Scene Magazine.
That's Michelle and Mark's
bedroom.
Right? Exactly. So
nice. And he shot a ton of the Def Leppard stuff by Neighbors with John Bon Jovi. And so part of that whole scene that was happening especially the East Coast. I mean, he was kind of the official correspondent, if you will, photographer correspondent of the 80s and into the 90s. So.
I mean, look, if you grew up in the 80s listening to rock music, you've seen Mark's photos on album covers, magazines, posters. I had tons of them. Look, I have tons of those posters hanging up in my room now still. So Mark has a new book coming out next month called The Decade That Rocked, and it's awesome, man. I've seen it, and I think he's going to share a little bit of it with us today. So give it up for our friend and yours, Mark Wise Guy Weiss.
There he is.
How you doing, dude? Hey, good. Everything's good over here.
Good to see you. How is New Jersey, man?
It's pretty calm, except for like about 10 minutes ago, there was these fire engines going around. I'm like, oh my God, I thought something was going on. And all of a sudden, I see the Easter Bunny on the front of the fire engine, waving to, I guess, everyone in front of their houses and stuff. So it was an Easter moment.
It was a feel-good moment. Yeah. By the way, happy Easter, everybody. It is Easter Saturday. So it's weird. It doesn't feel like it. I must say, it doesn't necessarily feel like it because we've all been.
And Passover to our Jewish friends and brothers and sisters.
Yep, exactly. Thank you for that. And I know that desk. We were at your house, right? Isn't that the room in your house off the main room there?
This is where it all happens. I've been working at this desk for the last 7 years on this book.
Yeah.
And I can't believe it's finally done. And this morning the FedEx came with this box, perfect timing. I'm like,
let's see it. What do you got? What can you show us?
What can you show us? The Decade That Rocked.
Dude, that's awesome. So the decade meaning the 80s, I guess, right?
It starts from the 70s when I first got my camera when I was 12 mowing lawns. And then I have some Zeppelin in there, some Aerosmith, Frampton, what got me started. And then it really hits in 1980 to 1990. So that's the decade.
So it's funny, 80s, I remember Eddie Trunk saying it's kind of the 80s that was to us what the 60s were to a previous generation, right? It's like the old saying, if you remember the 80s, you weren't there,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Of everything. We're lucky to have grown up in that era. I mean, it's because it was just such a moment. There hasn't been one since. I don't know if there ever will be one like that again.
In the 80s, it's like all the people that grew up that are our age now and younger that were kids when they listened to all this music, they're still having fun with it. It's I feel like that era never really grew up, and they're really you go to the concerts and they're not these old people, and they're in their 50s and 60s now, but they have the spirit of 20-year-olds from back in the decade. Just something about that era really kept it going, and it's great.
It's interesting. Trans-Siberian Orchestra is that audience, right? It's to a large degree. There's a lot of people that are some boomers, Gen Xers. A few young people, of course, because it's a family night out, but it's interesting how they, in a large way, sort of captured, the big rock show at Christmas time, family oriented. But it's every time I go there, I get this, Paul O'Neill did such a great job of capturing the spirit of everything that you and I grew up in. And he's probably about your age, right? Kind of came to the late 70s into the 80s.
Absolutely. Yeah. Me and Paul O'Neill kind of cut cloth from Lieber Krebs back in the early 80s. So we both kind of started as kids, and it was like our offices, or away from home. So we were teenagers just getting there, and Lieber Krebs really helped us. Aerosmith and Ted Nugent, AC/DC. So these are all bands that I just fell into Joan Jett, and they were there, and then I just kind of grew with them, and then I met this one, I met that one, and came to this book, The Decade That Rocked.
You took a picture of me over at the Capitol Theater on the Countdown to Extinction tour, and you captured such a moment. It was almost like I was in this Richie Blackmore pose where like my one foot, I was kind of up on my back foot. I wasn't slapping my bass with a cord like Blackmore, but it was this awesome moment. And it's indelibly just imprinted into my mind. In fact, there's sometimes when I'm on stage and I think about that moment, you know what I mean? And it was just, you captured. There's a thing about live photography, which you were just fantastic at. I shouldn't say were, I mean, are still. You just recently shot me and Thom's show last year. But there was a moment in that big arena rock setting. It's one thing, I'm a guy who just takes a picture. You take a photo, and a guy like me who just snaps the button and just sort of captures that. But man, for you to capture the sweat and the movement of the hair and just that, there's that moment. And you shot on film back in those days. Now today digital is cheap. It's free.
No, you had 36 chances to get the moment, and and it cost like $30-$40 to get the film processed. Yeah. So you really had to like take it easy. I mean, when I started getting more successful and I had some more money, I used to go crazy with the film. It used to cost me like $400 or $500, shooting 20 rolls of film. But I just loved shooting it. But you had to change the film and stop what you're doing. You had 2 or 3 cameras. Yeah. But capturing that moment, I mean, to me, it really is just pushing the button. But I like when I look through the camera, I just hunt around for moments, and I just keep looking, and I corner of my eye, and when you kicked your leg up there, I was probably there, and I kind of like grabbed it, and
You see things that other people don't, that you can capture in a moment, because, you taking a photo is like us recording a song. You're capturing a moment in time forever, And the other thing that I found interesting, because I remember seeing like your name come up, I'd be back in the production office or something, and I'd see the list of guests and the list of people that Capitol Records, in our case, would send through of who's going to be photographing the show. And your name would come up, and it was like a special night. Oh shit, man! Mark Weiss is in the house. You know what I mean? It's like there are moments that you.
I was intimidating.
Well, just like you were a guy. You know what I mean? Like right. You were a rock star as well, and it was kind of one of those moments where, when you were in the house, it mattered. You know what I mean? And not that every other show didn't, but there was something special. And obviously there were kind of a lot of the bigger plays around the New York area where you were based. But you were also hired by various people, right? You were hired by magazines to come in and shoot as well, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I started getting my first one of my first shoots was with Van Halen was a Circus magazine. It was 1979 at Convention Hall in Asbury. And then, it's my first time I met Eddie, and I took a backstage photo, and it's like, I was 19 years old, and it's like, I took it. And then next time they went on tour, I got another assignment. I brought the pictures back, and I just kind of like built this relationship with these people to get where I wanted to do a cover of the magazine. So then Circus magazine eventually hired me to do an Ozzy cover. And that went well. And then I wanted to do album covers. I figured like that's the ultimate, because I knew like magazine covers, like in 30 days, they're off the stands and they're forgotten about. Mm-hmm. Album covers last forever. I mean, now it's in a digital format. I'm watching, I'm listening to Sirius. So all of a sudden I see Slippery When Wet or Dockin' or Cinderella or any of my album covers, they pop up like 40 years later. It's like, it's amazing. And that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to do album covers. I wanted to be with the bands. I wanted to party with the bands, hang with the bands, be their buddies, those are my friends. I have so many friends from the 80s, and it's still to this day.
So what are some of the album covers that you ended up doing then as you made that transition?
Well, my first album cover was Stay Hungry, Twisted Sister.
No kidding.
Yeah, the band called me up and said, the record company wants to use like a corporate guy, someone that they didn't know.
Right.
And I guess the band saw my credit like you did, and saw my covers on Circus, and they said, let's try Mark Weiss out. Got on the phone with Mendoza. He had this idea with the the bone and the whole thing and the room. Came up with it. They gave me a chance. I said I can do it. I built this set, and then the rest is history, And then once that Stay Hungry album came out, then the phone's been the phone's been ringing. I did The Last Command with Wasp, Dockin' Under Lock and Key, Cinderella Night Songs, Anthrax, I'm the Man,
Suicidal Tendencies.
Slippery When Wet, all 5 covers. You'd have to see the book for that because it's a whole story in there. But
no, why don't you show us the book?
Wow, nice.
Show us the book. And Mark brought a friend with him. We got to get him in. So let's see some of the book.
Okay. Well, this is. Oh, I know what I'm going to show you. I'm going to be posting this tomorrow. Like, this is a funny story. So every year, maybe like I took this photo of Ozzy in the bunny outfit.
Right.
I shot that in 1984, and I kept it in the closet in the archives for like 15, 20 years. I'm like, I can't let the Prince of Darkness, be out in a bunny suit. So I forgot about it. And like one Easter, I sent it to Sharon, and she posted it. I said, all right, Ozzy's out of the closet, the bunny closet. So now every year they post it. So, and this is the gatefold. There's 3.
It's a very different look than this one right here on the new Japanese metal hammer, right? Of Ozzy.
Yeah, right. From that to this.
That's awesome.
But
we're in there too.
Gatefold. So anyway, when this whole thing happened, I told my son, and I'd come visit him because I've been like nonstop 24/7 on this. And I told him I'd come visit him in Florida with his son. He's got a 4-year-old, Jackson. And I finished the book, and I said I booked a flight, and then all hell broke loose, the Corona thing. And it was just a little thing, it's like a month ago, so it was just starting. And I even thought, should I go? Should I not go? And I even thought to myself, if I don't go, I might not have a chance. I might close the door. So I went down there, visited him, had a great time with him. And one of his friends introduced me to Clayton, who you're going to be seeing next, who was playing Bike Week in Daytona. Okay. And that got canceled. And then we never even met, but then we became friendly, and he played me some of his stuff, his album that he just has called Confessions. And then he showed me this song like the next day called Quarantine. And it was a rocking song. I really like it. So I'm using my contact just like I did with Sebastian and Zach, 3 times a charm. So I feel he's got a lot of talent. I'm going to help him out as much as I can.
That's great.
And Clayton here, Clayton Sturgeon also sings in an amazing Nirvana tribute band. That's so dope. It's unbelievable. Like I watched the videos, and my mind it was like I saw Nirvana in the 90s, and it was like watching them on the In Utero tours. Everybody say hi to Clayton Sturgeon.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going?
How are you, man?
You guys hear me?
Joining us.
Hey, thanks.
Now, where are you at?
Nirvana thing, man. It's Nirvana, a tribute to Nirvana.
There you go.
Nirvana. Where are you at? Where are you located?
I'm in St. Augustine, Florida.
Okay, you're down in Florida still. Okay, got it.
It's cool here. It's kind of weird because like we've been having the best weather ever, and it's like we're all in quarantine, and it's like the end of the world, but it's beautiful here.
Here too. It's beautiful outside. Like look at this. I'm in Wisconsin, and it's beautiful.
Wisconsin death trip.
Right? I got the gold record right back there for that. So I heard you might play us a little bit of a track, a song or something.
Yeah, I was going to go ahead and
let's do that.
Play the second quarantine song. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm living under a rock, yeah. I'm feeling like a lunatic, tick, tick, tock, yeah. But it ain't as bad as it seems. Stuck in quarantine. Finally, some time to do what I please. Waste my day catching up on sleep. It's time we flip this old routine. Stuck in quarantine. Let's party like the world might end and live this life with no regrets. Let's do it like they do in New Orleans. Don't get me wrong, don't wanna die. We're here for a good time, not a long time. We might as well just do what we please. Stuck in quarantine. try and tell me that I'm crazy. Yeah, I'll tell you how I'll plead. Temporary insanity, stuck in quarantine. Let's party like the world might end, live this life with no regrets. Let's do it like they do in New Orleans. Don't get me wrong, don't wanna die. We're here for a good time, a long time. Rather do just do what we please. Stuck in quarantine. Stuck in quarantine.
Clayton Sturgeon.
Thank you.
Give it up for Clayton. Mark Weiss, his new book, The Decade That Rocked, coming out. Take care, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you again,
Go
Mark.
to thedecadeThatRocked.com, and it's on Amazon.
Nice. Thank you.